right, welcome everybody. This is Cable Rose. Let's talk leadership. We are in a series called Art Through the Apocalypse, where I'm reaching out to all types of artists where they're bringing their passions back to the forefront of what they're doing these days. So today we have a special guest. If you've watched my Star Wars series, she's been referenced a couple of times. You know, moms have a really good way of bringing things to the forefront and kind of reminding us of things. Yesterday I was on the show with a cosplayer. We were talking about sewing and sewing machines and Floriani and hoops and sergers. And we talked yesterday and she was kind of impressed. I said, yeah, my mom's got quite a bit of a collection. So I'm going to introduce Donna Rose. You might hear me call her Busha. Busha is our name for grandma, but when we talk about the kids and stuff, so we call her Busha. So you might hear both of those. But you, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Donna Rose, my mom.
Hi, everybody. Okay, and I'll be careful not to call him Babe. Sorry, it's just what I do. I'm really excited to be here talking about sewing because it has been my passion for many, many years. In fact, I hate to admit it, but I've been sewing over 50 years. Now, you're all going to think, is there anything left I can make that I haven't already made? Yeah, there really is. But I sew because it's my joy. It's what gives me pleasure. And I'm a color person, and it gives me the ability to fondle fabric and play with color. And I don't even consider myself really an excellent seamstress after all these years. I make what I like, and I know my limits, and I don't want to tackle something like a winter coat with lining and all these things because I wouldn't get pleasure out of that. I could probably do, if I had to, I could do it.
You also live in Florida, so it's not like you need a winter coat, Mom.
Well, okay, so I don't know. I still get cold all the time.
Yes, you do.
But I sew because, let me see if I can back up. When I was a kid, I lived in a really small town with absolutely nothing to do. And I had 3 older sisters. And an aunt gave us a sewing machine, a basic, it went forward and backward. That was about it. But my older sister sewed. And maybe we were competitive, I don't know. But I thought, well, if they can sew, I can sew. And it was the 60s. And clothes were fun. And if you've seen an Austin Powers movie, that's exactly how we dressed. And so I had also spent all of my elementary school years in a Catholic school wearing uniforms. So absolutely no identity. I'm one of 5 girls. There was another one. In a small town, I was invisible. So individuality is so important to me. I don't want to look like everybody else. So my sewing gives me the ability to be unique, not goofy, not corny, but I can be who I want to be on any given day. And that's really, now, every hobby should give you joy. And every time I say sewing, if you want to replace that word with whittling or nose whistling or clog dancing or whatever, if it makes you happy, go forward with it. Don't try to make money at it. As soon as you try to make money at it, it'll lose its joy. It becomes work. Now, don't get me wrong, I have sewn, I have sold things, but I only make things I want to make. I don't want to sew for people because you can never please them. Honestly, they bring you the wrong fabric for the wrong style, then they don't understand why it's not the way they thought it would be. And I love making one-of-a-kind, unique gifts to give to people. Oh, did you want to get a word in here? Am I talking too much?
No, but listen, everybody wonders where I get it from. They absolutely 2 minutes in understand exactly who I am, why I am, and where I get it from. So no, you are quite okay. Get it in there, Mom.
Okay, so now the other thing is I got married really young to a military guy. And honestly, we moved every 2.5 years back then. We'd get to a new base. He'd go off to the base. He had coworkers. He had a job. And I didn't know a living soul. So my sewing, I would get unpacked. I would go find a fabric store. I'd make the curtains for this house or whatever I needed. But it gave me, it was my entertainment. And then when the kids started coming, they didn't take naps because they needed them. I needed them to go down so I could do some sewing. You know, you just... I don't know. You know, I had a sewing machine next to your crib. I don't know if you know, but you sewed as a baby. You went to sleep with the whirl of my sewing machine going every single afternoon.
You
And
know,
that's
I'm 42 and I never knew that story, but it makes sense now that I like noise when I sleep. I have I have a TV on or I have a earbud
mhm,
in, would listen to something. So that makes sense now, Mom. So everybody
yeah.
else that's out there, and I know right now the camera's on me, so I'll get off the camera here in a second. But if y'all pay attention behind her, look at this room. She has colors and the floor is black and white checkered, and she's got this piece of art that my brother drew behind her. It's a cabinet door she's been hauling around for 6 moves for 20 years or whatever. But in this room, I think it's very magical what happens in this room. So while everybody's kind of here, Mom, I want to show just some things that have been your last few years of things that you've done. So she said she likes to work in colors and she likes to work in uniqueness. Well, I call this like the planets. I don't know. I always saw this one as like different alien planets out there in the cosmos is what this particular quilt turned into. These Busha, are these mouse pads?
They're actually placemats, or like big, they call them mug rugs.
Yep.
Nowadays, you have a bigger, yeah, you put your cup of tea and your cookie on it or something. Yeah.
Okay, mug rug. But if y'all pay attention, these are everything about these are colorful and they're almost, I don't want to say scraps, but they're almost like
Mhm.
what's kind of now this one always gets me. And I got to get out of the way for this one. This Busha, talk about this. What is this?
Well, we have a dog who owns a house and he gets on the furniture. So I decided I have gray sofas. So I took and made these, and it's a cover for the top of my cushions in my couch so that the dog can, shut on it and I can throw it in the washing machine.
And if you guys look, it's made out of these like, is that an octagon? Is
It's
that
called
a
a hexie.
That's what I said, a hexie. So it's a hexie design, but this thing is gorgeous. It's got all the different colors. It's each piece.
Batiks.
What's that?
Batiks. The
But
fabrics, the color fabrics are called batiks. I
that's
love them.
that's what I said, batiks. And if you guys notice, each individual piece was sewn and then they were all sewn together. And so whenever I come to visit and I show up, that thing's running across the couch, and it's always fun to just see. Here's a large quilt again, colorful designs and stuff. But these are the last two I want to show you. So this one, Mom, talk about what this is.
It's a rug made out of t-shirt scraps. I had made a quilt out of your Star Wars t-shirts. And I have this thing, I hate to just throw all of the sleeves and everything into a landfill. So I always think of things to do. So I cut it into strips and I stitched those t-shirt strips down onto a heavy base and made a rug.
So you guys, I have a Star Wars room in the house, and I had, of course, a collection of Star Wars T-shirts. And so my mom took all those shirts and made this awesome quilt, and I have to pull it up for an episode and just kind of show you the Star Wars room. But the blanket is what's there, but this is the little trims at the bottom of the shirt, and I like how, Mom, you don't really waste anything. Everything, like you said, everything becomes a craft or purposeful and a second life. And
Mm-hmm.
the last one I want to show is just because it's mine. This was my what'd you call this? My Miami Cuban shirt. What would we call this? This is like it's my Star Wars shirt. I wish I had the trim up there, but it's got like embroidery on it's got Nerf herder written here. It's got the symbols embroidered in the back. This was made out of that fabric right there is a Star Wars fabric. And another funny story. I came to stay one time at Mom's house, and she goes, "Okay, well, good night. We'll see you." And we went and crawled into bed, and we turned the lights off. And the pillowcases Mom had made me for my birthday, they were Star Wars pillowcases. They're in my Star Wars room. Well, she didn't know it, but they glow in the dark. And so when we turned the lights off, the pillows glowed, and I went running down the hallway. I was like, "Mom, these are awesome. They glow in the dark." By the way, I was like 35, but I ran down the hallway. "Mom, these are awesome. They glow in the dark." And she was like, "Well, no wonder it costs $15 a yard." She had no idea why it was so expensive. It's because this material right here glows in the dark. And then obviously she got that one. But Mom, I've been fortunate enough, I guess is the word I want to say, to have your bit of creativity come into my world. So when I was a kid, I would wear one green shoe and one orange shoe. And the
Yeah.
orange shoe had the green lace and the green shoe had the orange lace because I bought two pairs because I got to mix and match them. And then you would sew my, mom, what were they called? Jams?
Jams. Yeah. The skateboarder jams. Uh-huh.
So I was a skateboarder growing up, and the shorts I would wear weren't like, they're not like short basketball shorts, and they were like long, extra long shorts, and they had the whole leg was a pocket. I could stick my arm all the way down the leg and pull out my wallet from the bottom of my pocket. But mom, you made my clothes when I was growing up because they were unique and they were different. And I like to be creative.
And we were broke.
Well, yes, no, you're absolutely right. We were broke. It's not like the military pays a gazillion dollars.
Right.
But I got to show, Josh only wore black T-shirts for 8 years of his life. He only had, 100 black T-shirts to wear. So he was in the, not emo, but he was in that other group. But I liked colorful, and I liked fun, and I liked creative, and you were always able to provide that. And now when I come over, it's always fun to see your hoops and your digitizing software and you want that logo put on. Oh, hey, by the way, these are like things mom can do. She'll put the logo on your shirt and she'll do those things. But it's really fun to see what you get into. Do me a favor. When I was deployed a couple years ago, I was in Kuwait and it was 145 degrees. What did you send me?
I think, well, the logical thing would be to send you snowballs.
So what are those?
They're snowballs, of course.
But what do you do with them?
Yeah, throw them at people. They're fun.
So literally, you guys, I was in Kuwait, 145 degrees, sitting in a network server, and my mom sent me a bag of snowballs. And I will tell you the hours and hours and hours of time that we had probably sitting around that office throwing those snowballs at each other just because it was fun. You made Marley some plush toys, some Zelda, and some Minecraft toys. You've done teddy bears. Oh man, I just moved the room, but my Star Wars teddy bears in the closet. You and sisters. Oh, you know what? Do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about sister camp.
Well, my four sisters and I, obviously, we all got married and left this little town. Several of us married military men, and we spent a lot of years not seeing each other. And our mom was always the central point. Well, about 10, 11 years ago, our mom passed away. And so we decided it was time for us to get back together. So we all happened to sew. We still do. We enjoy it. Once a year, we rent a quilter's retreat someplace. We meet. We load up our cars with sewing machines and boxes of fabric and you name it. And we all drive in and we spend a week just acting goofy, sewing from 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes we'll sit there for 4 hours in the morning in our pajamas, sipping coffee and sewing and talking and catching up. And we did it. This year is going to be the first year in 11 years that we haven't gotten together. Thank you, COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Yes. But I just want to say, anybody who takes up a hobby, you have to always do it as it's got to be something that you have fun at. And you can't expect to be good at it day one. I've had people say, I tried sewing and I was terrible at it. Well, I couldn't play the piano the first time I sat down either. I mean, you have to just enjoy the process of learning it and don't go out and put a fortune into tools or machinery or whatever. Get some basic stuff and use it. And if you can have an area in your house, this is truly my first house I've had the luxury of always having everything set up. And it does make a huge difference. If you can find a corner in your place with a card table and you can put a little sewing machine on it so that it's easy to sew, even if you sew for 5 or 10 minutes a day, that's when you get pleasure. If it becomes work where you have to clean off the table to set up the machine, you're not going to do it. But find something that gives you some pleasure. And especially in times like this where we're locked at home. Yes, the minute COVID hit, I started cutting out masks and I made 85 and I'm burned out, but maybe that's 85 people that won't get sick because I have the skill to sew them. And when I need to find something to fill some time, or if I'm lonely or I'm bored, I've always got my sewing room to come out and even if I just fondle fabric, I can always have fun out here. So find something that gives you some joy.
So, Mom, I really appreciate it because I know when we talk about the time that we're in, this is a unique time. And you actually kind of helped inspire the positivity of this series, because we were talking before, like everything we see is negative, everything we see is negative. So stay positive with your thoughts. And that really does, make your day to day better. So if everybody out there's ever wondered like where I get it from, or how I understand the world, you kind of have a better idea, a better insight into where I come from by sitting here listening to my mom. But there's one more thing I want to talk about, Mom. Yesterday I mentioned to Shelby, my cosplayer, where people get together and they share those ideas, and it's just creativity and joy, like you're talking about, right? Well, there's one more thing I want to mention is you are paying it forward. So Savannah
Hmm.
was a young mentor, or a young mentee of yours. So do me a favor, just explain how that scenario came to be. And just what I want to see is like, you pass the torch, or you hand off the baton, and that next generation of seamstress or sewers or cosplayers. But tell me what that was.
Well, she's a 14-year-old girl, actually the daughter of a friend, and she was just kind of looking for a hobby. And so she came over and she started sewing with me. And I'll be honest with you, after 4 or 5 years together, she did make some things, and we always had a good time, and we'd talk and while we were sewing. And maybe sewing isn't her passion, but that's okay. She at least has enough skills that she can hem a pair of pants if she needs to, which is more than most people. But we really hit it off, and she'd come over and on a Sunday afternoon, and we'd spend a couple of hours and we'd talk about her school and her friends. And she's a bright, articulate girl. She went off to college. I already miss her, but I never had a daughter, so it was really fun having her here. And even though she's may not ever pick up her sewing machine again until she just needs to repair something, or someday when she has children and she wants to make Halloween costumes for her children, it's a skill she learned. It's always valuable to know how to do basic things. I don't care what it is. And we're friends. I mean, I'm an old woman, and I have a friend that's a freshman in college, and we talk all the time and we keep in touch. And she keeps me young, and I can answer questions for her if she has them. And it's a really nice relationship. So sewing doesn't have to be your passion, but you're right. It is really good to pay something forward like that. And so, yeah.
And the way I see it too, when we talk about that and we talk about the world that we live in, passions, hobbies, joys are usually timeless. Where you've got someone that's your age, Mom, and then someone that's 19 and in college, but you're talking the same language, you're talking the same joy, and everything else is just a moot point. So I really enjoy as I get to I talked to a chef yesterday, and Ruth was on the show, and she was talking about some of the things she's got into and the joy she has with her kids or with some of her clients who are older. And so I think in this time when we talk about art is timeless. It doesn't matter the age. You might have a 5-year-old that's a savant and can draw and be an artiste, and you might have a 75-year-old who's picking up a pencil for the first time, and they can absolutely talk the same language. I think that's really cool. So one, I appreciate you being on the show. I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm up early, by the way, you guys. This is early for me. But to show that and share that and be a part of just seeing your positivity in the world, Mom. I mean, I get it from you. I have my good days. I have my bad days. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
We
gonna
all
say,
do.
right? We all do. But it's really fun to be able to say, hey, this is where I get it from. And then to come over and, like I said, I wish I had my blanket out. I wish I had my other couple things out. Don't forget, Mom, the shirt that I was cut in half the other day at your
Now, that's just embarrassing.
I know. I was gonna show it, but no, I'm not gonna show it.
Good, don't
Uh,
do that.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I really appreciate you being on the show and being a part of this, helping me see what's important again sometimes, because I lost track. I was getting caught up in this thing, and you were like, we got to talk about positive stuff. And so again, I don't have an art form. I don't draw, I don't sing, I don't play music, but I talk to people, and that's what I communicate with. And so watching you sew over all these years, I miss my jams. I might actually put an order in for some jams. Do
It'll
some
take a whole lot more fabric now.
my round ass, I have to fit into a big ass. It would be like a shower curtain with a pocket.
Okay, we gotta close this down. Nobody's gonna want to watch this.
Oh, they're all gonna want to watch it. But listen, to everybody out there, if you ever wonder where I get it from, I get it from my mom. Mom, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing.
Okay, I love you, bud.
I love you too, Mom. Hey, listen,
Okay.
everybody else out there, TV land, I appreciate y'all watching the show, and we will catch you guys on the flip flop.